Hello, everyone. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I'm just getting into a good position here so I can get to talk to you. So, today's class, as you can tell by the title, is all about dominant planets and signs. And so, the most um focused around this class will be is the dominant planets because they kind of affect everything else in a way, and it kind of is what kind of ties together this whole concept and the whole idea behind having a dominant planet or sign. And that's kind of where I could start with. What is the most dominant is the one that is aspected or appears in your chart the most, and that um, and that planet can be in any sign really. So when it comes to this planet being the most dominant, it can simply mean that uh, most of your planets are in the sign that is ruled by this planet. And this again goes down to rulerships. Maybe I should make some videos about that. I mean, I've been kind of throwing around this idea in my head about like a basic information type of thing. And by the way, if you're watching, say hello. I'd love to chat to you. But getting back to the topic, so that I don't like go all around into into too many distractions and directions and whatnot. So yeah, basically you can find this information in your chart by basically I'm just gonna read from this thing that I did for my Facebook group that is also linked in the description if you want to find it. So basically, firstly you go on to astro.com and you go to the free horoscopes, you go to drawings and calculations, and then you pick the extended chart selection. And from there, if you haven't done your birth chart already, you would fill in your birth data, and then you would go to the one that says Pullen slash Astrolog, and then you pick the simple chart delineation by Walter Pullen, and then you show your chart. Hi, Mage. Hi, hope you're staying well. Yes, I am. Uh, I haven't talked today, so that's why my voice sounds the way it does. And like, I have been having kind of like on and off uh, throat sores and like tiredness and whatnot, but I haven't had like that severe uh, any kind of symptoms. I haven't even been tested or anything for the virus and whatnot. But yeah, I'm doing well, I would say. Pretty good actually. Uh, and yeah, okay, so moving on. So from this Pullen slash Astrology, then you pick Simple Chart Delineation by Walter Pullen from the drop down menu, and then you click to show your chart. And then you should get a ton of information, and you need to scroll down until you see this table that basically lists all of your planets. Then it says on the top, it says planet position, aspects, total rank, and percent. And that then shows you the planets, also your nodes and the angles, and then it shows total. And then when you go to the total rank, that's kind of what shows you which planets are appearing most and are aspecting the most, because then there is that because even if something is most aspected in like the the aspects. Even if something ranks number one there, it doesn't mean that that is the one that is uh, most dominant in total. So that's why I would go with the total rank there, because that shows kind of the whole picture. Kind of shows what then ends up having the most power. And that's kind of why you won't really have, uh, for example, your angles or your nodes as the most dominant, because they, uh, like, even if they did have an aspect, it doesn't show here necessarily. And because they don't really have a rulerships in Western astrology. And then again, even in Vedic astrology, the node only has like exaltation and something else. I don't remember what the other one is. But basically, I basically look for the total simply because I kind of feel like that gets us the whole picture, and also because the signs are sometimes co-ruled, and that's kind of then when the sign table comes into play. So this one will have sign, power rank, percent, and then it's also going to have two different tables right beside it. It's going to have element, power and percent, and mode, power and percent. And now with these two would be ranked by the percent instead of numbers. But with the signs, it's kind of the same thing, apart from it's from 1 to 12, because there's just 12 signs. And that's kind of where we find the power. And kind of the rank. So then with these, sometimes when it comes to the percent, they might be the same percent. And that kind of that might show planets that are percentage wise the same power or the same dominance, but then there is something else, like maybe there's more aspects to one of them, or like otherwise something kind of overrules it, and then that's kind of why the other planet comes as more dominant. So like, for example, if you have ascendant in Leo and you have lots of aspects to, let's say, to your moon, but then your kind of Leo rising highlights the sun, and there's also lots of planets in Leo, or lots of aspects to sun, then that kind of shows you the kind of the ranking power. It kind of shows you the comparison. It kind of shows you which one is more powerful in a way, or more, like, how would you say it? Well, more dominant, of course. But I like this tool simply because it can kind of show you what planets are kind of winning more in your chart in a way. So so for some people, this could really show where they might have issues, and it kind of goes along with some of the things that I've been teaching over here. For example, when I was talking about the grand trines, that kind of showed me that kind of showed me a little bit about, like, maybe why for some people the trine might feel a bit irrelevant, or why it might feel a little bit uh, hidden, and maybe why some like things may not be as visible to others when it comes to something like that, something like an aspect or a certain placement in your chart. So I think that's why this is a very good tool. And and how would interpret like a dominant planet or sign would be, it's kind of like an underlying energy beyond the surface, and it's kind of something that's, it's almost like a glue of the chart, but like the thing is, it's not on the surface because like you can kind of see, you have to look for this. You have to look for this in the astro.com. You don't just get it right on your face in the birth chart page. So you are going to have to kind of look for this, and you are going to have to really kind of look at it look at it a little bit more. So uh, then in a way it also kind of clarifies the thing, but then it also it blends the whole chart together like super well, and it can help you really understand why maybe you might be feeling, for example, your moon more versus your Mercury, or maybe you're feeling your water signs more than your earth signs, or maybe you might have like an interception, and that may make one of your planets more powerful than the other. So that's kind of why I really wanted to make a class on this, and why I wanted to touch on this week, today, in this masterclass. And we're mostly going to focus on the planets simply because, like I said, some planets co-rule some signs. And um, yeah, basically that. So, yeah. By the way, mate, how are you? Let me know. And anyone else, feel free to say hi if you are logged in, um, if you're watching from your account, and you can say hi in the chat. Then say hi in the chat. And if you already have your information, I would love to hear what your dominant signs and planets are. Uh, so yeah, basically, I think I'm just gonna go from my notes and just tell you kind of what it means, because I've wrote so many notes again. Like, wanted to make this a little bit artsy because I already had a bunch of text on this black part, so that I was just like, let's cover it up so it doesn't distract me. But yeah, let's get into this finally. So for example, if you have a sun dominant personality, or you have a sun dominant um, chart, this would mean that the shine of the sun needs to like pop out. I'm good, except the sunshine has made the trees in my garden flower and given me a blocked nose and head. Oh, I feel you. I feel you on that, because I get that allergy also. But I love the sun. It's like so warm and sunny today, and yeah, that's good to hear. And it's funny because I was just talking about the sun shining, because there's a need to shine and excel in whatever the person who has a sun dominant personality do. And there's a lot of like personal growth and ideals that they wish to reach. And they might also have a strong ego, or like a big ego, or no, I'm coming from a very neutral perspective with this. Like, some people just have a stronger ego. That's kind of a fact, isn't it? So um, so while there is this big ego, there's also a strong soul and a strong higher self, because these are also aspects, and like things that are considered solar or sun in nature. And with this, there's this energy of just wanting to be kind of an ideal person, or almost like how would you explain it? Someone who's just very good at what they do, someone who shines, sometimes even outshines others, um, finding excellence. And this would then like show the planet, or like the sign that your sun is in, as also another very important part of you. And if you are a sun dominant person, then that would mean that you most likely really really resonate with your sun sign. um, And in the same way, if you are moon dominant, you probably do resonate with your moon as well. So that's an interesting aspect here as well. But when it comes to how this sun then kind of blends into your chart, it kind of you tend to lean in quite a lot, quite heavily. You would lean into your either sun or Leo aspects quite a bit, and this need to excel and where you kind of shine the most. This would also be shown in the fifth house as well. So you might really lean on to these creative aspects of your life, your fifth house, your Leo planets, your sun, and all of the planets that are in the sun sign, or in the same house even. But that's basically the sun. With the moon, you would um, you would be the type of person who has a lot of need for like inner growth, inner reflection, privacy, safety, comfort, flow, intuition, emotion. Uh, you would lean into these type of things, same with subconscious and this kind of needs for softness and care in your life. And like I kind of mentioned, if you have a moon dominant personality, you would really resonate with your moon sign. And you would also really strongly lean onto those fourth house aspects as well as the cancer placements in your birth chart. So for example, personally I have a moon dominant personality, so I'm a cozy little piggy. No, that doesn't mean you're a cozy little piggy, but you're cozy, okay? Because you like to be nurtured, you like to be like soft, and you like to be cared for, and you also like to care others because this is a caretaker. The moon is the one that takes care and also needs care, and very emotional and intuitive personality. And yeah, this is definitely something where you would definitely lean more into that flow. So like I'm very much like this because I have this moon dominance in my chart. You know, I just like to go with the flow quite often. kind of You will kind of hear me say that, like go with the flow, go where it feels good, trust your emotions, trust your intuition. You'll hear me say that a lot. So yeah. And now, if you were to have a Mercury dominant personality, you would go into thought, conversation, intellect, speaking, your voice, expression, learning, information, concepts, details. You'd have a need for analysis and organization of information, concepts in life, need to know. You would also most likely just lean on to facts and information and logic rather than, on the contrary, a moon person would rely on intuition and emotion. So like it's a very different, it's like quite a contrast there. And in the same way, you would find yourself maybe relying and leaning on to like your third and sixth house as well as your Gemini Virgo placements, and um, and the area where your Mercury is. So this is kind of where you would find yourself pulled towards, even almost subconsciously falling into. So let's say, like this is another way I would see it. Let's say you really want to be a ninth house type of personality, but Jupiter is your least dominant sign. So then this would turn out to go where maybe your most dominant sign is the sun, so you find yourself going into fifth house matters anyway. It's kind of like you almost get directed into that place instead of what you like might even say you want. Um, or you might be like challenged to go into another way, but then you kind of just end up going into your dominant sign anyway. And yeah, this is also something that's going to be rather consistent throughout your life. And I feel as though any transits can also really activate this dominance in your chart as well. So if you have any planets transiting this area of your life, this house or this planet or this sign, then that's kind of where you would fall. That's where you would find yourself really thriving almost. Or not necessarily even thriving, you would find yourself comfortable, but there could also be some uh, life changes going on there, depending, of course, on the planet that would then affect where you'd end up being and where you'd end up going. Okay, next up, Venus. So with Venus, you would be the type of person who's very drawn on to aesthetics, beauty, arts, values, money, pleasure, luxury, and abundance. And you would have this underlying need to enjoy and make things beautiful and strong and solid values. So with someone who's ruled or like whose dominant planets are Venus or the dominant signs are Libra and Taurus, then this would show someone who would feel very drawn onto this money and pleasure and values, like having very strong and consistent values, as well as just feeling the need to make things very beautiful and being very artistic. So that would then like show up in your life. It would show up in your like second and seventh house aspects. You might be very social and need to kind of express that social and harmonious aspect of your life quite a bit. And yeah, just like feel very pulled towards those type of things in life in general. Then with Mars, Mars would show a person who's very motivated and aggressive and driving towards something, very driven. That's the right word. Yes, driven, and who needs a lot of strategy and leadership in their lives, and who's very ruled by this kundalini independence and willpower, and also who needs a lot of action in their lives. So there would be this need for like movement, assertion, and a straightforward life. So if, for example, a Mars dominant person gets faced with lots of obstacles, or if they get faced with restrictions to their smooth and like very driven and straightforward action and drive towards whatever it is, they might get very frustrated, they might get very stressed, because again, Mars is the planet who shows us this stress and frustration. And if they're asked to slow down, this will be very hard for them. And Mars again shows us like as a dominant side, dominant planet. It shows kind of leaning into first and eighth house because it's co-ruling Scorpio, or like the traditional variation old ruler of Scorpio. So first and eighth houses, as well as Aries, and like I said, Scorpio. So that's kind of where you would feel very leaning heavily on, or almost subconsciously directed towards. And those would be kind of the placements in your chart that would then kind of overrule everything else. With Jupiter, this would be about overflow, luck, success, prosperity, expansion, breadth, uh, growth, philosophical tendencies, and the need to explore, experience, and find meaning. So with this, your personality would be like very large. Like you would have almost this larger than life personality. And this could also mean that you will definitely feel driven towards like the ninth house subjects, anything in Sagittarius, Jupiter aspects. That would be kind of where you would be leaning on to or driven towards. So very driven towards like finding those bigger meanings of life, finding optimism, finding fortune, finding uh, all of these quite grand things in life that kind of have this philosophical tone as well. And then Saturn. So if you're a Saturn dominant person, you will need lots of respect, responsibility, authority, karma, lessons. The ladder. I call it the ladder simply because I'm not sure if I like that word. Ambition, establishment. You would have a need to rule and teach and give structures. So there's kind of like this overarching theme or like an underlying influence of finding lessons, having responsibility, kind of having ambition, and this almost like rulerships over something. And like this doesn't mean that you would have to be like authoritarian or someone who's like very crazy about rules, but this is something that you simply kind of feel pulled towards, and you feel the need to have structures and to be teaching someone and to kind of have that responsibility. I feel like that's one of the key themes of Saturn. It's like responsibility and learning from your mistakes and having those lessons, and also knowing kind of your inner authority as well, kind of how you relate to authorities. This could be also something that would be a big theme for a Saturn dominant person. And this then shows kind of leaning into or a pull towards um, the placement of Capricorn and your 10th house. And also this because it's a co-ruling of Aquarius. So then it would be Aquarius in 11th house. And yeah, for the Jupiter, there's also the co-ruler of Pisces and the 12th house. So I like to kind of go into those as well. But the Pullen chart also, I think it goes by just the modern rulerships. So, but I'm just mentioning those as well, just because why not? I think they're good ones to keep in mind as well. Then Uranus, because we are doing modern rulerships as well. So Uranus, a ruled personality, or Uranus dominance, would be the need of rebellion, reform, almost chaotic chaotic life, restructure, reshape, newness, inventor, being the inventor and the movement maker. So this would be someone who would be very pulled towards inventing and rebelling and making new rules that fit the collective. So vodka. Why? What? No, I don't have vodka. I have water. But yeah, there would be a need to invent and rebel and to make new rules that fit the collective. So there would be something like this in this person's like underlying energy. There would be kind of this need to just like almost like lift the spirits up to like having a rebellion and revolution going on, and need for this newness and like collective shifts would be here as well. Someone who would feel the need to constantly have some kind of a collective shift or people waking up going on because it's awakening. That's quite a lot what's usually considered Aquarian or Uranian concepts. And like I said, this like I kind of cited there that this is an aspect of Aquarius in our chart or 11th house. And of course, where Uranus is, this is kind of the thing you feel very pulled towards. With Neptune, this would have to do with dreams, imagination, subliminal worlds, drugs, delusion, veils, music, and spirituality. And this is where you almost feel like you need to experience a fantasy world or like otherworldly lifestyle or philosophy and kind of a need to swim deep. So when you think about this, you would just like it was almost like this energy of like magic and dream world and like very subliminal and very deep experience in a way and very deep energy, but also very hazy. And this is kind of what you would feel pulled towards. And this again is the rulership of Pisces and the 12th house. Then finally Pluto. This is where your energy would be tuned more towards power, control, obsession, magnetism, darkness, deep healing, and like depths in general, very deep stuff. Bonding, destruction, transformation, death, and psychology. So this is where a person would have the need to regenerate and change and bring an end to something and to discover kind of the bottom of the ocean. So if, for example, Neptune has the need to swim deep, the Pluto is there to find the bottom of the ocean. And yeah, the need for change and the need to have power, the need to have very deep healing, and this like transformation, change. There's something kind of pulling you towards that when you have this type of a um, when you have this type of a dominant planet. So then also with this one comes Scorpio and the 8th house, and those are kind of the ruling energy of your chart in a way. And so what to do with this information, this is like I kind of see this as more of a overlying underlying energy of your chart. And this is just where you feel very pulled towards. It's like I said, it's almost like something that you almost automatically lean onto and something that you just feel very directed towards. And how I can personally experience this with my moon dominant personality is that, like I said, I kind of just oh my god, kind of just feel almost at default going into that flow, going into my emotions and intuition. And it's also shown me this because I also have my moon intercepted. My moon is in Taurus and it's intercepted. And it shows me that those kind of issues that I have in my intercepted 10th house, like also because it's in my 10th house, I feel the drive also towards like my career and what I'm out there, society, uh, and also my because this planet in my chart is opposite Pluto, so it also shows me that intense emotions. Like when I search what the opposite Pluto and Moon means, I was like resonating with it so hard that it's like driving me crazy because it's so point. So yeah, so like especially when you have an opposition like that, uh it's then it kind of shows you even more about how that work planet works, how this dominant planet works in your chart, and what it's kind of faced with. So for me, it's kind of faced with this Pluto and almost like obsessive tendencies. But but I've definitely learned how to cope with that. I've learned how to take care of myself. That's also another big moon theme, like taking care of yourself, taking care of others, taking care, just like caring in general. And yeah, then again, I have two planets in Cancer. That's my 12th house. So that also kind of shows this almost repressed emotional side and just like need to be nesting in peace and being like cute and cozy and all that. So, and like I rejected this a lot in my younger years when I was a teenager, especially. That was very hard for me. And kind of knowing that moon is my dominant sign, it's like it's wild. And on the other hand, cardinal signs are my dominant mode, and that's also quite intense because yeah, it's like I keep wanting to start new things. I keep wanting to have a new beginning all the time. I keep wanting to lead. I'm a leader by nature. And I think water is my most dominant element. I'm gonna go and see because, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's for me. But I am gonna have to double check right now because I don't always remember. So, so I can kind of tell you a little bit more about all of this. But overall, I just feel like this is something that explains a lot, especially when you start to really dive deep into your own chart. So that's why I would definitely recommend you do this and then kind of follow along what I say about this. And also just look at all of the aspects and all that stuff. So let's see. Yeah, my moon is number 1. My Pluto is number 2. Like I said, it's opposite my Pluto. So these are the two players in my chart that are so big, and also my nodes are in this axis. So wow, it kind of shows why it's sometimes super hard for me to go towards my north node because my north node is in the 4th house in Scorpio. So yeah, my life ain't easy always. And then also my north node is the least dominant. So I'm like, how am I solving this issue for myself? And yeah, then my most dominant element is water. I was right about that. Then earth. And then my least dominant, like this is so weird because these are my rising sign is a fire sign and my sun sign is an air sign. So like how are these my least dominant ones? That is what is so weird to me. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, like I said, cardinal is my most dominant modality. So there's that need for like leadership and having almost having control, having that like power at least over myself, because these are kind of the things that come up with each of the modes, the modes of no, the cardinal signs. Yeah, and this would be almost like a strong link to those angles of my life. So like the ascendant, descendant, IC, and MC. So kind of that balance there is very strong for myself, for my chart. And then fixed is my second most dominant uh, modality, and that's another quite a big deal. And you can just tell that because I have least mutable, it's very hard for me to like finish things at all. So sorry. But it's like it might take me forever to finish some things. But because I have this strong fixed nature, it's like I almost will do. I will finish things, but it might just take me forever. And like this is also another that's like so weird here. But when it comes to my signs that are most dominant, you will not guess this. Capricorn is my number one dominant sign. And this is like a mind-blowing thing for me. Number two is Scorpio. Number three is Cancer. So it's interesting because my moon is my most dominant, but it's not my dominant sign. My most dominant sign is Capricorn. Again, it's somewhat really weird, but it's also something that really opens your eyes to so many things. Because then again, my Capricorn is my sixth house, and it's also my vertex. That's an interesting fact as well. And then with my Scorpio planets, I have Jupiter, Pluto, and my North Node. So yeah, it's very interesting to say the least. Okay. What are your dominants? What are your dominants? Tell me what your dominants are, because I want to hear about it. And I've been just rambling about myself here. And yeah, my least dominant signs are Sag and Libra. No surprise, I like Libras so much. They're cute. With Saggies, I'm just a little bit. I'm not sure about them at all. But then again, that's just me. And then Virgo is number 10, and I'm like, yeah, I can totally understand that why they trigger me so much. But then again, I'm born in a family with all of this Virgo people in it, and I'm like, no. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but it also like shows so much. So like no matter how much I want to be cozy and nesting and go with the flow, my most dominant sign is Capricorn. It's gonna be like, you need to get your shit together. So it's like it's a weird combination, and it's especially because of all of these oppositions that kind of almost rule my chart in a way. Mercury, I missed the start. What is that site? Well, it is in astro.com, and then you go to the extended chart selection. Then you find the one that says, just a second. I think it says, and yeah, I have the pictures here so I can see where it is in the picture. So it says, so it's Pullen / Astrolog, and this is in the extended chart selection. Then you go to Simple Chart Delineation by Walter Pullen. Then you click to show the chart, and that's how you're gonna find it. And then you're just gonna have to scroll down until you see the thing that shows. There is the planet, and then it's gonna have like on the top line, planet, position, aspects, total rank, and percent. And then you see the total rank is what shows you kind of like totaled out all of these planets. And then of course you can look at the aspects. So the aspects are a little bit different. They're gonna show you which planets are aspected the most, and then which ones are positioned the most. So that's kind of how you're gonna see what the total rank is. That's like calculated all there for you. So the one that's number one, that's gonna show you the most dominant thing, and then there's also like below that you're gonna see the signs and elements and modes. So that's where I got my like information from. That's where I was talking about that. So yeah. Mercury dominant. Ooh. Yeah, that is interesting. So yeah, you probably have like a strong desire to talk to people and to go with the thought and the intellect and analyze. Like you have a lot of Virgo, right? I think that's like a big indicator of like the dominant sign and all that. And yeah, I mean, of course, I kind of mentioned that in the beginning. That's like a big thing with the dominant sign. It comes kind of from that where a lot of your planets may be, or where a planet may be most aspected, and even if it's not in the sign that it's ruled by, it can still like play a role with this, and that's what you see from that little thing. So yeah, kind of cool. Kind of cool. Yeah, it's really cool to me, at least. I just keep looking at this and finding new things about myself. But yeah, also, yeah, like I said, my most dominants are Moon number 1, Pluto number 2, and then Saturn number 3. Ooh. And then Capricorn number 1, Scorpio number 2, Cancer number 3. It's interesting. They go like the opposite ways when it comes to the signs. It's really fascinating. But yeah, if you're able to leave me a comment. Yeah. Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Ooh, that's surprising. That's actually very surprising that those are the most dominant signs. How many, or do you have like lots of fourth house planets? Or yeah, I don't know. Oh my god, so itchy. See, I have that too. The itch. Mostly 8, 9, and 10. That's interesting. That is so interesting. But yeah, see, this is this is exactly why I go by the planets for the most part, simply because they kind of show that interaction a little bit more. And yeah, they show they show the interaction a little bit more, and they show also kind of that subconscious drive for the most part. And yeah, and it's like it's way easier to kind of analyze it when you can also see your own chart at the same time, and when you can really just put all of this information down somewhere and kind of go into it. Equal fire and earth. Ooh, that's so interesting. For me, they are like almost equal. They're also my least dominant. So I mean, fire and air. I'm like strongly water dominated person, so that's like yeah. And also like cardinal, quite a bit of cardinal, quite a bit of fixed. Definitely least mutable. They're so interesting. Anyway, if we don't have anything else to talk about, I think I should get going. We have already been for 50 minutes. And yeah, when you have time, look at the beginning, because that's where I kind of go into what this all means and what kind of how I see this going, kind of how I see this working out in a chart, because it becomes a lot more important when you start to actually break down the whole chart, when you start to really dig deeper into it. And when you start to look at, for example, your house rulerships, like what sun and planet rules which house, for example. Like I said, my moon is in my 10th house. But then again, my Mars rules that house for me. Then that kind of helps you see why this cardinal dominant thing makes so much sense for me. I will look into this. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you really will have to look into it, and it can be so mind opening when you start to like really put down the details and get like really, I don't know what this hand movement is, what it means. I don't know. Yeah, when you start to like really dig into it and really look at it, and yeah, it's a part of kind of my analyzing each person's chart now, because I feel like it gives me also some clues on to what a person may feel like naturally very easily pulled towards, what they might just lean into very easily and naturally, because it is kind of like the underlying energy of the chart that is determined by these energies, like these planets and signs. I have a program called Janus, which is interesting. Is that an astrology program? Where is it? What is it? Tell me more. Tell me more. I'm playing with my bracelet. I don't know why. I'm just like, oh. Yes. Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna have to see what that is about. But yeah, I think it would be time for me to go. And yes, I will be going now. Thank you for joining. Thank you for talking. Thank you for getting into today's masterclass and expanding your knowledge on astrology and your birth chart. Thank you for being awesome as usual. Remember to give this video a thumbs up before you leave. And if you aren't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.